Hello, welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're making smothered hamburger steaks. In a large bowl, you're going to need 2 pounds of ground beef. To this, you're going to add a fourth a cup breadcrumbs, 2 tablespoons of steak seasoning, and 1 teaspoon of garlic pepper. Once you get this in your bowl, you're going to mix it up. You can use a spoon. It won't work so well. I actually resorted to using my hand, and you're probably going to have to do the same thing because it just needs to be mixed thoroughly, and probably your hand is the best tool for the job. While you're mixing this up, you'll want to make sure you get your hands all the way into the bottom of the bowl. You want the seasoning to go through all of the ground beef. So pull it in, mix it up, do whatever you have to do to get through all of the beef. So once you get it completely mixed through, you're going to want to make patties out of this, kind of like you're making a hamburger, but you can shape these however you want to. With 2 pounds of ground beef, you're going to get 7 to 8 patties. You could probably, if you're making them smaller, get at least 8. However, it all depends on the size you want to make them. The way I did them, I made them a little thick, and that's why I came up with 7, but it is a lot when you're actually making this whole thing up with the gravy, the mushrooms, the onions. It does fill up a plate quickly with just 1 to 2 of these. Okay, once you have all your patties made, you're going to put them into a skillet with a little bit of oil in the bottom, and you're going to cook these on at least medium high to high until you actually get the sides browned, which is going to take about 5 minutes per side. Now, once they're in your pan, you're going to want to season them. I put on some garlic, pepper, and salt for seasoning. You do this to taste. It doesn't have to be a lot or a little. Whatever you put on it is going to actually give it a flavor. Now, as I said, once you get to the 5 minute marker, you want to flip these, and as you can tell on the back side, they have browned. These don't have to be cooked completely through because they are going to go back in later after you've flipped these on both sides. They're going to actually be added back into when you're making the gravy, and they're going to simmer for at least 45 minutes on low heat at that point. But once you flip them, season the back side as well. Same thing. The garlic, the pepper, and the salt all over again. Now, if you had more of the patties than would fit in the pan, you're gonna have to cook the first ones, take them out, put the second set in, and then cook them. And when you're done completely, you're going to have some oil in the bottom of your pan. You want to leave that there because you're going to add to that at least 1 large yellow onion that's going to be cut up into pieces. Once your onion is in there, you need to cook this for about 5 minutes so that way it caramelizes and If you look at it, it's going to be very translucent. This is what you want to happen, but at least 5 minutes and let it cook through. If you have any large pieces, break them up. As you can see, I'm doing the same thing because even though you cut it, sometimes it doesn't always break up. And once you've gone about 5 minutes, it's going to look a lot like what you see in front of you now. To this, you are going to add 8 ounces of mushrooms that have been sliced up. Once you put them in, you're going to cook them for about 3 minutes to make sure they cook through. So stir them into the onions, mix them through, make sure they get coated with the oil because you want them to cook. Now, as they're already finished, you're going to go ahead and add in 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. You can add it all at once, or you can put it in bits and mix it up. I actually add it a little at a time and mix through, so that way it gets incorporated. Once you get the flour in, you want to cook it into what's already in the pan, but you want to do it for a couple of minutes after you already have it mixed, because you want to get rid of the flour taste. And the oil and the vegetables will actually help do that. It takes a couple of minutes of letting it cook. So as you can see, the flour is completely absorbed after a couple minutes of sitting in the pan and simmering. Stir it up a little bit, get it mixed through again just to make sure that there are no clumps anywhere that needed to be mixed in. And once you feel confident with that, we're going to get ready to add some more stuff to this. So at this point, you're ready to add 1 teaspoon of beef bouillon. I use better than bouillon. Either case, this is really going to give it flavor, so you want to get that in there. Now to this, you're going to add 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. Now stir this up, try to mix it through as best you can. You want to try and distribute this throughout before we add anything else to it. Now you're going to add 2½ cups of beef broth. This is what's going to help you make your gravy. Everything that you've already put in so far is going to mix with it, and as you stir, you'll notice it start to change and it'll become a color throughout the whole thing, which is going to look like a gravy, which is kind of brownish colored. Continue to stir because you want to mix this completely through. And once it's stirred, you want it to simmer for a few minutes before you add your beef back to it. So go ahead and put the patties back in one at a time until they're completely distributed through. And as you can see, all of mine fit in because beef does shrink when you cook it, so they all fit this time. And once they're in, you're going to want to spoon some of the gravy over top to make sure that everything is coated. Now, once you get everything completely covered and make sure you get a good amount on top of it, just let this simmer, and then you're going to put it down on lower heat and let this go for at least 45 minutes or so. That way it's just going to let the flavors marinate through. And when you get to your final and it's cooked for at least 45 minutes, it'll look a lot like this. So give it a good stir to make sure that, you know, everything is mixed around and everything is totally covered. And you can let this sit for a few minutes until you plate it. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you next time.